Who dat to you? God bless you. And if you're a Saints fan right now, you're a real one. My word. What a rough one. Who dat to you? Welcome in. Real quick, before we get too deep into it. If you're out there and you are a fan of Louisiana sports, you're struggle busting. I get it. Tigers, LSU, trash. Kelly might be on his way out, to be honest. New Orleans Saints, trash. Zion and the Pels, trash. There's I'll give it three. Three state teams I recommend following. Number one, Tulane. Shout out to Tulane, the Green Wave. And shout out to the Monroe Moccasins and the Baton Rouge Zydeco, two hockey teams. Look, when things get bad, go where it's good. The most fun in-state rivalry and one of the most fun atmospheres to attend right now are one of those hockey games we just mentioned, or the Tulane Green Wave. That's what I would point you to if you're a Louisiana sports fan looking for a reprieve, because today you didn't find it. Today you found the New Orleans Saints falling 23-3 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and shout out to that defense for even making this halfway believable as a close game. Offense looked awful. Defense looked meh, but not awful. And the New Orleans Saints are, they're on pace to maybe have the number one pick. It was rough. Now, I'm not going to judge Tyler Shough based on him getting thrown in at the end of the game. I'll be honest, I don't agree with the decision. I mean, y'all know my position on that. I think Spencer Rattler should remain the starter until the bye week, and if you were going to make that change, just do it then. Right? All you're going to get at this point is more tape on guys. I would have left Spencer Rattler in there in a tough situation, but it is what it is. I'm not the coach, and at the end of the day, does it really matter? Right? The New Orleans Saints suck. What else can we say? They suck. Shout out to Tori, Big Merv coming in, 992, Abraham. Appreciate y'all supporting. Aaron coming in. We'll get that too in a second. But let me give y'all the possessions, breaking down what happened, then we'll get into y'all's thoughts. New Orleans started off with fumble, punt, interception, punt, fumble. Then finally on the sixth drive of the game, which, by the way, they got inside Tampa Bay's territory and only got 15 yards, got a field goal. Yup. And it's rough because as of now, since he got pulled, Spencer Rattler has had 6 turnovers in the last 6 quarters of football. And look, bad games happen, right? Everybody's going to have that happen at some point in their career if they play long enough. He's currently going through it. But man, is it rough. In fact, under him, the most yards the offense gained today was 34 yards. They even had a 10-play drive that went 31 yards. Like, absolutely bonkers. And then Tyler Shough ends up coming in, and towards the end, 43 and 53. He also gets an interception here. It's kind of a fluke interception. I know it statistically is an interception, but if you watched, real tough to blame that one on him, just like Rattler's had a couple of those in the past where, in every quarterback's going to go through that. You have an interception that's just like, is that an interception? But that's the day-to-day. And you have AK going out. You've got Juwan Johnson dropping more passes. And I think it was Sigler on X who said both Cesar Ruiz and Juwan Johnson get paid too much to be a continual source of so many problems. No matter how you look at it, the New Orleans Saints team is broken and needs a rebuild. And I think that's fine. I guess at this point, all I'm saying is, can we just say it out loud? Can we acknowledge it as a team? You're 1-7. And I also will admit that part of my feelings, I'm in my feelings a little bit, Saints fans, is the fact that Sean Payton and his Bo Nix-led Denver Broncos are 6-2. Like, I get it. I shouldn't be looking at what's happening across the fence, right? The grass is always greener. But I've said it before, man, like, it's not easy to get a Hall of Fame quarterback. It certainly is not easy to get a Hall of Fame level coach. And I watched Saints fans a month ago, high on life, with a team that had won one game talking about, man, I'd rather have Spencer Rattler than Bo Nix. And I went, I mean, if you really want to argue that, whatever, dude threw 4 interceptions, 4 TDs today. But you know who I'd rather have? Sean Payton. That's what I'd rather have. And I know I'm the king. I have said it so many times on this podcast. You can't live in the past. We've moved on. Stop talking about it. Ooh, 8 games in with Kellen Moore, and I'm going to say something that's about to hurt. Get ready, Saints fans. Y'all about to be really unhappy with what I'm about to say, but it was better with Dennis Allen. It was. It's only 8 games. I'm not calling for Kellen Moore's head. I'm talking about what it feels like right now, 8 games in. Dennis Allen was better. Now, it might not end up being that way. It might be better down the road, but Dennis Allen was better than right now. This is a bad football. This is undeniably maybe the worst football team in the NFL, and I say that with the New York Jets existing. I'm not trying to be, emotional. I am. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but my goodness. This is bad. This is bad. But let's talk. Actually, normally we go and we build this podcast around being point for point, pound for pound. Let's go over the analytics of it, and we will cover that a little bit. As a team, we're going to grab the comments here in a second, but as a team, there are some things they did okay. Third down, they went 50% of the way. That's fine. That's definitely better than before. Still can't score in the red zone, 0 for 1, right? The aggressiveness was there. One problem that has stuck with them all year long, penalties. They had 8 penalties today on key drives, including in one drive, Trevor Penning getting back-to-back penalties. Clearly, both guard positions need to be looked at. In fact, it's almost a little bit of a vindication because I told y'all, look, I don't think moving Penning to guard fixes anything. And you know what? I was right. Penning is just one of the worst busts in Saints history. He's just, oh man, let's just get it all out right now. Let's just get all of it out. Let's just say all the things at one time. Penning's one of the worst busts. We can talk about Marcus Davenport all day long. Trevor Penning, one of the worst busts in Saints history. Oh, hey, Penning, I want you to prove me wrong, buddy. You just haven't done it yet, so I'm going to talk my trash. New Orleans Saints also only averaged 3.9 yards a play. And I want to point out that all season long, I have said the defense is the only thing holding this team together, and people have been like, Rev, you're crazy. The offense is actually young, and there's offensive-minded people, and how can you say that the defense sucks? We keep losing games. Once again, this defense holds a team to less than 25 points, and our offense puts up 3. This defense is, if you gave this defense a semi-okay offense, this team is a 500 team. Because this is a 500 defense. It's not a great defense. It's a 500 defense. This defense stopped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are the division leaders at 6-2, 6 times in a row at the 1-yard line. I am quite confident we could give the New Orleans Saints the 1-yard line, and they would find a way to not score a touchdown. This defense is keeping games semi-respectable. Almost kind of want the defense to take days off, just get blown out, buddy. Again, I'm so close, and y'all never see me do it. I'm so close to being just like, look, screw it. Start throwing at anybody who can. It's just, I'm at that point, y'all, and I hate to see that I'm at that point. Today is just a game where I can't really say anything positive except Chase Young. Man, I wish you'd have been healthy for week 1. Second half looked good. Nate Shepard, nice showing up. Appreciate you. Justin Reed is the best player in the secondary right now, though Kool-Aid McKinstry had a couple of good plays in the end zone that deserved to be called out. Shout out to it. Demario Davis, 14 years in the league, looking like a stud, 11 tackles a day, forced a fumble. Shout out to Demario Davis putting in work. It's sad, though, that a guy who's been in the league that long is your premier tackler and playmaker. That's not how it should be. It shouldn't be that way. But here we are. Here we are. Woo doggy. Woo. No, let me grab some of the comments from chat. I do apologize for being a little bit off my rocker tonight. That was just a rough loss. Aaron Luke says Juwan is the Jarris Bird of tight ends. I actually like what we've called him on this show before. He is the Temu Jared Cook. And you could say Jared Cook was the Jarris Bird of tight ends. Though Jarris Bird was bad in New Orleans, mostly because of injury and never recovered. But point aside, Juwan Johnson, who dropped another pass, this time from Tyler Shuck, just not even like a badly thrown ball, like literally in his face and his hands drop. Just my Atlanta. Yeah, that's how it goes, I guess. Juwan Johnson's disappointed. But what about Rashid Shaheed with ball security issues today? That was unexpected. He still leads the team, and he even was kind of hitting himself in the helmet. He missed a touchdown throw from Shuck, just never really saw it in the air. But Chris Olave had a solid day. Shaheed had a solid day. Alvin Kamara got up to 600 receptions in his career now. Shout out to him. I almost feel like this is going to be Kamara's last year. We'll see. But shout out to him. Brandon Cooks showed up with 3 receptions on 22 today, which is the highest number he's had in terms of receptions all season long. Shout out to that. But yeah, Juwan Johnson just is paid too much to be this disappointing. Raheem throws in. I know it's early, but I don't think Kellen Moore is it if you're an offensive-minded coach and your offense has struggled every game to start fast. I think that's absolutely worth bringing up. I think it's absolutely worth that. I think it's worth it. It's completely fine to say that. Now, I'll say this. Kellen Moore has a long leash. Kellen Moore is going to get opportunities. Kellen Moore is not going to be a one-and-done coach. We're going to see if he grows. But as I have and Elias has had all season long talked about, it isn't working right now. It certainly is not working when he has Spencer Rattler in there. He got to get him some first looks at Tyler Shough. I don't believe that was fair to Shough, nor fair to Rattler, to be honest with you. But we saw Shough today. Looked fine. I mean, he looked like a rookie quarterback who had never seen an NFL defense before. If I had to give a positive to Tyler Shough, ball placement was definitely nice. There's that. Ball placement for the most part was nice. But other than that, it's just, I would have left Rattler in there if it's just me making the call, which clearly it's not. I would have left Rattler in there. And it was a rough day. Godfather of the season, I told you the past 3 years that this was the direction the franchise was heading. Trade, salary cap moves, poor draft choice in the first round, the coaching, etc. Kellen is Les Miles. No, Les Miles is actually a good coach. I think that's fair. Godfather, you're one of those guys, and I get it. You pat yourself on the back, but you've also been wrong a hell of a lot more than you've been right. This is the first year you've actually been able to pat yourself on the back. You've been calling doomsday, and I was always right over you. And I said this year they were going to suck, and cool, we're right now. But you've got a history of patting yourself on the back after you're wrong about everything, and then you finally get there, and it's like, woohoo! How many bets have you lost in our Discord for the fan bets, my guy? Though I appreciate you supporting the channel, and you're finally right. But cool beans. Happy for you, I guess. Yeah. Hardwell says couldn't leave Rattler out there. Team was playing too hard to not try something to get a spark. And look, I get what you're saying, Hardell. Had they had you can't have a sure thing at quarterback, but you're talking about a guy who's not even getting reps with. It's not like there's a quarterback competition in the season. Shough's not getting reps with guys. He is firmly benched, and even Kellen Moore was talking about, just 2 weeks ago that wasn't on the horizon. It's hard to see Shough was going to give him a spark. I understand your logic, Hardell, and I get it, but maybe I just don't believe in Tyler Shough that much. I do believe that Shough deserves to get snaps. I'm not backtracking on what I've said before. I believe Shough should get snaps so that he can be evaluated. But I think you have to put him in a situation that gives him the best chance to be successful. And going out against the division leaders when you're already losing wasn't that, in my opinion. If anything, you worry about that rattling him, pun intended, but untist right there. Oh, I actually got a button for that. There you go. Rattling him to the point where he has problems. I'm concerned about that. And I almost view it the same way that I view Dallas did this today, by the way. They put in their backup, and even Tampa put in their backup. Like, when you get to that point, you're definitely calling it. So I see what you're saying, but I think that if this team really wanted to do something, they should have leaned more into playmakers like Taysom Hill, like Chris Olave, etc., and just tried to force it that way. Again, personally, I would have kept Rattler in. Clearly, it didn't make a difference. Shough is a second-round guy who needed development. Throwing him in halfway through a game when he's had no prep at all, it's hard to imagine that spark working. But, here we are. Now, Justin adds that we have a large enough sample size of Spencer. You are what you are. And I agree. I've said that all season. I don't disagree with that. But I worry about the negative of throwing Tyler Shough to the Wolves. In this case, Wolf being like Vita Vea and Nelson, who came out of nowhere to get a sack fumble and an interception for a TD, which that's absolutely wild. How was he not seen? But yeah, it's one of those Saints memories that we'll remember, at least I will remember for a while, where Rattler throws an interception to a guy 4 yards in front of him and then gets absolutely trucked. It almost reminds me, it's the antithesis of one of the greatest Saints plays of all time, where you've got Matt Ryan getting face planted in the turf by an amazing stiff arm on an interception. And we made fun of Matt Ryan for the longest on that, and it just happened to Spencer Rattler. Though if you're a Rattler fan, what positive can you pull from that? What can you glean? Well, Matt Ryan won an MVP, so you can't write off Rattler for this game or last game, but at the same time, I do agree with your general statement, Justin, that Rattler is who he is at this point. He's had enough starts between college and the professional to know where he's at. That doesn't mean there aren't things that he can be better at, but if I'm going to be Godfather 3000 for a second, Rattler has shown that he's not a franchise guy, and you need a lot to build around him if he's going to win. I still think he could be in the league for 10 years, and I still think he could be a successful guy, particularly as I see him, as I've said, very much like a Jacoby Brissett type of player, but here we are. 992 says, I agree with Drew Brees. You can tell who a quarterback is after 50 big games. Then you can say who a quarterback is, and again, according to Drew Brees, you've got that. I'm not saying Drew is hating on Rattler. I'm just saying what Drew said. So, Godfather comes back again. Good to see you, man. Says, I won all my bets this year. Hey, and that was my key this year. And the last bet I lost was when we played the Raiders, but Carr and half the team got food poisoning after the bet. Godfather, again, appreciate you supporting the channel. As always, man. I hope you're having a blessed weekend. I'll have some positives because, again, I shouted them out earlier. Look, I get it. It's tough if you are a fan right now, but if you're a Saints fan, Pels fan, it's rough, but you have Monroe Moccasins currently third place in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. Baton Rouge Zydeco currently fourth place. Season just started. If you want some fun sports to watch that aren't just completely embarrassing like the 1-7 Saints, check that out. But hey, Godfather, maybe we can get some bets going on hockey. We'll see. Back to the comments. David says, have a slew of starters who should be on the bench and off the team by next season. Why don't pro players know how to play ball? This looks ugly. Well, you say that, David, but I mean, they look like the worst team, but I promise you this 1-7 Saints team would beat the brakes off the best team in college football right now. So I get what you're saying. We're watching a bad team. We're experiencing right now for one season what New York Jets fans have been experiencing for probably 3 decades now. Hopefully we don't have a similar experience. Hopefully. Abraham says Rattler's just not winning an MVP. He's just a backup. We'll see. I don't like to just be negative. I like some of the improvements I've seen from Rattler. I still don't believe Rattler's a long-term franchise guy, but I will acknowledge he's done some things better. Joe says Kellen is being saddled with 3 to 4 years of horrible decisions by Loomis and Allen. This isn't Kellen's fault. He's a coach taking over a bankrupt team. Mickey is the worst GM in the business. He was the cap guy for Randy Mueller. He has no idea how to grade a roster. Saints fans just realizing how horrible this roster was constructed. I completely disagree with basically everything you just said. Look, I understand the frustrations, and I've said before, I think Mickey Loomis should move on. But to think that Mickey Loomis has done nothing but horrible trades and contracts for 20 years is just disingenuous. It's just not true. The man's built multiple good rosters. And even now, you've got good people on this team. That's fine. I still think we should move on from Mickey Loomis. I agree with that point, but he's saying that Mickey Loomis is the worst GM around the league only shows you don't look around the league. There are worse situations in New Orleans by far, and I say that in the same breath where I say Mickey Loomis needs to go. He absolutely needs to go. But to say he's the worst in the league, no. What New Orleans just needs is to be fresh. They need to restart and rebuild, and that starts top down. That's what I believe. But here we are. Hardell says other sports pauses, Money in the Bank next year. Wildcat Wrestling in West Bank does that Rumble next month? Shout out to that. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I'll give a shout out to anything local in the boot. So I'll absolutely do that. Platypus says the pile-on with Rattler is more a matter of annoying Rattler fans than it is a matter of just Rattler by himself. Now, I will acknowledge this real quick, because again, I'm not a big fan of negativity. I like to keep things analytical and film. That's all I really care about. I will say this. Spencer Rattler, I got nothing against Rattler. I've never seen actually anything negative about Spencer Rattler as a person, with one exception of him having a video of him just being like ridiculously cocky. But at the same time, most good quarterbacks are cocky. I don't know if y'all know this, but they are. I've gotten to meet a lot of them. They're pretty damn cocky, and more power to them. There's just certain positions in the NFL you need a little bit of moxie, and I believe quarterbacks that. So while that might be hubris might be a negative when we talk about humanity and people, I think it's fine to have as a quarterback. My issue is just how there are Spencer Rattler fans out there who truly believe he's like an MVP being held back by whatever force we can name today. You know, sometimes that force is like, oh, there's not talent around him. Sometimes that force is Dennis Allen. Sometimes it's whoever you want to pull. I think at some point you just have to acknowledge that Spencer Rattler has, you know, big flaws that need to be taken care of. But I mean, I like Spencer Rattler. I still think that he should be on the roster next year. And there are people who don't agree with that. And I don't believe he should have been benched, but we'll see how it goes. Godfather says, can you explain Kellen Moore's conservative play calling without using the young quarterback narrative? We need an aggressive go for the juggler coach like Peyton and Moore was hired for, or like Peyton and Moore was hired for that. Ironic. Oh, I agree. I've said that all season long. I believe there needs to be more aggressiveness. Aside from the QB narrative, I will say this, Godfather. Moore calls a lot of aggressive plays that nobody pulls the trigger on. And the only person I can say that on is Spencer Rattler. I mean, we've done some all 22 sessions in the Discord, especially guys like TJ and Blair, shout out to them, where there are a lot of aggressive play calls made that turn into 3-yard checkdowns. A lot of them. Again, I think Spencer Rattler has improved this year, but Spencer Rattler is a lot of what people complain Derek Carr about being. Everybody talked about Derek Carr being check down king, like, oh, well, he's a 10-year veteran and Spencer Rattler's in his second year. You got to let him grow. Regardless of whether he should be allowed to grow, he is check down Charlie to the extreme. There's a reason Spencer Rattler's averaging like 5.5 yards a pass attempt this year. Kellen Moore's called a lot of aggressive throws, a lot of four verts, Yankee concepts, etc., and Rattler just doesn't pull that trigger. Now, I'm not making an excuse for Moore. I'm just answering your question because you asked me to answer it. I still think Kellen Moore has not lived up to his own hype, which is a Super Bowl hype. But there are a lot of plays that are called that are quite aggressive that just aren't getting chucked. And then you also have just a reliability issue with guys like Juwan Johnson. Guys like, hell, Rashid Shaheed today, who had been reliable and now he's fumbling. And Chris Olave has absolutely had up and down moments. So just answering your question, there's a lot of plays that could have been chucking 40-yard passes, at least the attempts for those, that aren't happening. Now, in Rattler's defense, he will attack intermediate areas. I mean, if you look at the statistics, Rattler will attack the ball 15, 20 yards down the field as much as any other quarterback in the league. And NFL Next Gen Stats has backed that up. We've actually talked about that on the show. But it's the real deep aggressive shots, that taking that ball and slinging it 40 yards down the field, that they just do not do. But those plays have been called. And I'm not in that facility. I can't tell you why. But I can only acknowledge what I see. But I do agree with what you're saying, Godfather. I am a firm believer that coaches, like quarterbacks, need some hubris. They need to be almost narcissistic and honestly, maybe even a little narcissistic. I believe you kind of need that to be a great one. Now, you can still be that way and still a little humble. I think Dan Campbell's a good example, but Dan Campbell's still not won a Super Bowl, so can't really crown him yet. I think there's a certain type of aggressiveness and a certain type of this is how I'm going to do it that a coach needs to have. Now, in the defense of Kellen Moore, he is very much that way, maybe to an annoying degree because, as I have said all season, Elias agreed, Kellen Moore has been playing his offense regardless of who's at quarterback because what he's calling a lot for Spencer Rattler does not fit Spencer Rattler. Most of Spencer Rattler's games with Kellen Moore have been, you do what Kellen Moore wants to do, not what fits your play style. Right or wrong, that's just kind of what I've seen a lot of. And I'm sure some people might disagree with me. That's completely fine. You can have a microphone and a podcast too. But that notwithstanding, I think Kellen Moore's got some issues where you can be prideful, but your pride has to have results that are positive. And there's not positive results from what you've seen from him this season. And I'm sure most people would agree. Now, Truth throws in Coach Teeth is too happy-go-lucky, glass half full to light a fire under his players and coaches. Here's what I honestly think, Truth, and this is just me speculating. I believe Kellen Moore is already looking at next year. Like, here's what I honestly feel about Kellen Moore. I feel like Kellen Moore said, this is my offense, and he's putting everybody in the New Orleans Saints roster through his offense to see who's going to be somebody that he can use next year. I honest to goodness believe that. I think Kellen Moore, one of the reasons he doesn't adjust his system is he wants to see who fits in it now so that he can know who to tell GM whatever, probably Mickey Loomis, who to move on from. That's what I truly, duly believe. He's just trying to plug in everybody and see, does this person fit? Cool, keep. Does this person fit? Boot. That's what I see from Kellen Moore. And maybe that ends up being okay down the road, but right now it's pretty awful being 1-7. It's tough. Like, was it Ralph from the, Saints Happy Hour podcast flew in to watch this game. And as much as I love the New Orleans Saints, you're not getting me to go to a Saints game right now. You could offer me, okay, if you offer me a sideline pass, I'd go, because I've not gotten to, elbow with Saints folks since I actually worked covering the team. But I mean, just going to a game, if somebody out there is a season ticket holder, say, hey, I'll give you, I'll give you 50-yard seats, 100 yards up from the sideline, not up in the terrace levels, but, a respectable seat or a lounge, I'd be like, no, thank you. I appreciate it, but I'm going to pass. It's not worth doing that for me. I would rather spend time with my kids. So that's just what I would say. And if you love the Saints that way, more power to you, but I'd turn down free tickets to this team. As I said, I'd much rather go see the hockey team. Like, for example, shout out to Hullaby, Monroe Moccasins. Dude, such a nice, fun guy to be around. Right? I'd much rather see hockey right now than Saints football. Truth be told, says no true young alpha males is a receipt for disaster, as we're seeing. No wolves means no one is fearful. I get what you're saying. I can't really speak on it, but I see what you're saying. And Godfather says ESPN just reported LSU is firing Kelly. I said that at the start of the podcast. I was pretty sure he was getting fired. In fact, the Louisiana governor was involved in the firing. Now, who's going to pay all that stuff, but whatever. But yeah, thank you, Godfather. We have now got live reporting at the time of this podcast. Kelly's out, which I'll be honest, I don't disagree with. I wouldn't have paid him what he got paid. Ronald says, I've turned down those tickets and I went to work out at halftime. There you go. Don says, I was in Cowboy Stadium last season when we beat the Cowboys down on the road. Feels like the last time we actually looked like a good team. Oh, Don, don't worry. That was the last time we looked like a good team. Saints Garcia says he spent $3,500 to go to Seattle and see that butt whooping with your 4 kids. Got 10 expensive autographs. But hey, you had fun. Hopefully you made memories with your kids. And that's what really matters. I fully believe that. So I'm actually proud of you as a father that you did that type of thing. I hate that you saw them get their butts whooped, but I think that makes you a good father. Good fathers should spend time with their children and build those core memories. So kudos to you, Saints Garcia, just for being a good dad. I really do respect and love that. Money is trivial. Like, I get it. We need money. Who doesn't want money? But at the end of the day, you know what matters? Your family. So kudos to you for that. Don says, my wife and I enjoy the game. Good memories. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's how you could get me to go, is if my wife wanted to go to a game and y'all offer tickets, I would. But if you just say, hey, Rev, I've got 50-yard line right for you, buddy, in the lounge where they give you food, I'd be like, nah, I got food at the house, fam. I got food at the house. All right, back to the game, because we do get a little bit sidetracked here. I understand why we're sidetracked. But for those who missed it defensively, I really feel like the defense had a good game. You consider what Tampa Bay's been doing. And I mean this sincerely. There is positive to be taken for next year of the defense. Look at what you've seen from Tampa. This is a team that just scored 30 against San Fran, 38 against Seattle. Obviously, they lost against Detroit in a wild one. I was not expecting that loss, as I'm sure many of you were not on Monday night. But, this is a team that has got firepower, has used it, but has also really relied on the defense to score, or the defense to hold strong. And our defense held them below 20 points, right? Their offense did not score. Now, maybe they're going through something right now, and we'll see if they grow out of it. They're going into their bye week before going against the division-leading New England Patriots. Yeah. Did y'all see the New England Patriots out there? I mean, they were beating up on the Browns, but they're 6-2. Who cares who you beat up on? You're 6-2. Freaking Drake May looking like a franchise quarterback, isn't he? 3 TDs, threw an interception, but 3 TDs, almost 300 yards, 75% passing. Man, that looks like a second-year franchise quarterback if I've ever seen one. So, I mean, defense is surprisingly good, and I think there's enough young guys on here that you want to really keep. I'm a believer that McKinstry could be a solid number 2. I think Sanker's somebody that you build upon. I think Chase Young's still young enough that you keep him around and work with that. Same with Brian Brzee, who's made an obvious effort to get better in run defense here. I think there's some young guys on that defense, but I'm really at the point where almost the entire offense has got to go. Truly, truly. Almost the entire offense has got to go. The defense is keeping us in respectable ranges. But man, this offense is done. It's barbecue chicken, as Shaq would say. Jerry, good to see you, man. Blessings to you. Drew says, I appreciate you returning to YouTube. I can decompress instead of having my wife laugh at me and cussing at inanimate objects. I'll just put it this way, truth be told. I'm a big fan of the Saints as you are. But you want to know where my autographed Saints jerseys are? I have taken them out of my frames and I have put my hockey jerseys in there for now because just the Saints are so bad, I don't even want them decorating my office. Now, I'm not getting rid of my jerseys, don't get me wrong, but I've got them stored nicely away from everything because right now I don't even want to look at them. But I'm still going to watch every Sunday and I'm still going to do this podcast and hang out with y'all because we need the grieving session together. We do. And I appreciate you being here, Truth. And thank you for supporting me and my family because every dollar y'all donate goes to support me and my kids. So it means a lot that people like you and even Godfather, who loves to come in and argue with me, but at the same time, I respect it because you can't say Godfather's not a fan. Godfather comes through every show to talk Saints and spend money on Saints. So can't say he's not a fan. He might be an angry, disgruntled fan, but he's definitely a fan. Speaking of Godfather, he says we have only won one game an entire season once, and it was in 1980. I seriously think we are heading for that record this year, and I agree. I mean, I do think that the New Orleans Saints will win another game because I look at their schedule. The end of the year, just again, on paper, there's a lot of winnable games. I mean, we literally play the New York Jets. We literally play the Tennessee Titans. We play Atlanta twice. We play the Miami Dolphins. It's hard to not envision them winning games down here. But you could absolutely be right, Godfather. You could absolutely be right. But there's some winnable games down there. Now, do I believe they go to Los Angeles and win? No. Do I believe they go to Carolina and win? Maybe. Carolina's not a good team, but they're better than us. They're 4-4, right? They're 4-4. So, because I am team never tank, I want the Saints to find a way to win. We'll see. Now, beating the Jets, beating the Dolphins would really hurt our pick selection. But let me just go ahead and be completely honest with y'all. There's nobody in the draft right now that I think you have to pick at number 1. And I'll be real. If the Saints ended up with the number 1 overall draft pick, the first thing I would try to do is trade that joker. Give me assets, baby. Now, we'll talk about that conversation closer to the end of the year, but I'm going to tell you right now, if the Saints are on pace for a top 3 draft pick, which currently they are, I would be trading that joker quick, like, and in a hurry. So, we'll see. Again, that's a conversation we shouldn't even be having yet because that is a little bit of a ways away. However, for those curious, I'll put it on the screen. As of right now, the New Orleans Saints have the number 1 pick. As of today, there's a long season still to go, chat. You're not even halfway done. Long season still to go. But the New Orleans Saints currently hold the number 1 pick. If they have anything in the top 5, I'm trading it. Because trading a top 5 pick historically guarantees a minimum of 2 firsts. Minimum. Now, this is an opportunity for those Mickey Loomis haters to come in and say Mickey Loomis would somehow flub it up and trade a first rounder for 1 first and 2 seconds. But hey, I'll definitely beat that drum when we get to that drum. But as of right now, if I'm the New Orleans Saints and I end up with this number 1 pick, I'm receiving phone calls. Yeah, who you got? Because historically what happens if you have like a top 3 pick in trade, you're going to get around pick 8 to 13, there's going to be one of these teams right here. Another team that sucks, like Atlanta, who's giving it to LA, but LA has to look for their future, like Vegas, right? I don't think Baltimore will stay there, right? Because Baltimore's going to get Lamar Jackson back, so Baltimore's going to rise up, which means somebody else falls. Arguable that Cincinnati is also going to rise out of this top 10 when Joe Burrow returns, right? So you're going to see other teams, likely guys like Carolina, maybe even Houston are going to fall back into the top 10, and that's who you're looking at trading with. And now I could be completely wrong, and like Baltimore just really, really falls apart and can't get back on the winning wagon. But either way, you're trying to trade that, and then not only would you get that pick somewhere likely between 8 and let's just say 15, you would also likely get next year's first and even a first after that if you've got a top 3 pick. That's what the value is in those. So we'll see where it goes. That conversation needs to be had later down the road. T-Rex says, this organization's been bad for 5 years. Gale sucks. I'm not going to blame Gale for anything because Gale's an owner, not a manager. The only thing I will get on to Gale about is she is waiting too long to get rid of people like Mickey Loomis. It's the only thing I'll gripe about with Gale. It's clear they need to move on. At the same time, remember, Gail Benson is not the sports guru. That was her husband's thing. Tom Benson loved all this. Now, Miss Gale likes the Saints and she loves the Pelicans. But this was something that fell into her lap. It's not like she's had Tom Benson, who's been in there for 3 decades, who had learned a lot. And you can say a lot about Tom Benson. Feel free to say whatever you want about the man. But to say that he didn't know how to run a team as an owner would be kind of silly, because you're going to get experience when you own a football team for 3 decades. You're going to learn and get better. Gail's not had that. This wasn't Gail's like pet project. It was thrust upon her once he died. So I can't expect her to just start making big moves. She's going to trust the people that her husband kept around and that her husband said are really, really smart. Right? Now, she's always been a little bit more, at least on paper and from a distance, much more connected to the Pelicans than the New Orleans Saints. But I get why she's left people in power that are there, because that's who her husband trusted. But at some point, I do agree with what you're saying. She needs to be like, sit down, this ain't working. And with her being from here, from the boot, and she's from the city, I would hope that she starts hearing the cries of the people. We'll see. But again, I'm not throwing a ton of blame on her because it's not like this was her thing. But I still think she has a responsibility to the city to make things happen, especially with the ridiculously good deal her and Governor Landry just signed to keep the Saints here that, honest to God, if she wanted to, would cost her basically nothing to take the team and run if she wanted to. That contract is flimsy, whimsy. Now, I get it. That wasn't her. She's not an attorney. A bunch of really good attorneys apparently decided to take the state of Louisiana to task. But if you're a Saints fan, you should not be confident on that extension they just signed to stay in Louisiana. So Mickey has immunity as a job for life. I'll be honest, Justin, I don't believe that. I do believe there is a point where he loses that. I just don't think they're there yet. And I hope that that does end up happening. But I understand the concern. Don says we need bigger, stronger wide receivers. Our guys have too many balls knocked out and drop too many balls. Agreed. John says, I agree we need to move on from Loomis, but I think this team needs Mickey Loomis. Ooh, that's a tough one for me. That's a tough one on me. Godfather says, I agree. Trade for more picks of value because one player will not fix this, and we need to clear cap space and don't need to pay those number 1 draft picks either. Go the Belichick route. 100% agree. Hey, maybe we can convince Belichick to come around here just to be the GM, not to coach, but get Belichick to be a GM. Anybody think they can convince him? No, I didn't think so either. But yeah, that's where we're currently at, New Orleans Saints fans. But let me say this. I appreciate y'all a lot. I really do. It means a lot to me that some people are so dedicated to this team, even when you're 1-7. We've had over 100 people here at the Peak in this podcast on a Sunday night to talk New Orleans Saints football. And man, that's freaking awesome. If you haven't already, come join our Discord. Hit me up on X. More shows will come. I'll admit it's tough to want to do shows right now with how the team is, but at the same time, I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And thank y'all for sharing me your stories. Like Truth, sharing me stories. Like Garcia talking about being a man with his family. I really appreciate that. Like seeing our regulars like Don and Jerry and Abraham and Godfather. I hope y'all stick around. I appreciate you and I hope you know that. And if you're listening to this on iHeart Radio, Spotify, Google, Apple, all the places, appreciate you too. Who dat? God bless. Catch you on the next one. Deuces. I'm out. Roll it.